All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. I'm Adam Smith with Just the Tips Coaching, and with me, as always, is our marketing director, Jen Waybower. Good morning, Jen.
Good morning.
And those of you watching will notice in the background that it was Jen's birthday yesterday. I don't know that we should divulge how old Jen is. It's a milestone birthday. But my team and I, barring Jen, decorated her office late Friday night so that she'd have a surprise when she came in this morning. And we're really excited about our guest this week. I can't say enough good things about her. But Tracy Hulsey, welcome. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
So, Tracy, we didn't really give you a whole lot of prep, and we really don't give anybody a whole lot of prep because we want it to be relatively extemporaneous. We want it to be candid. But we really want to have a conversation about you, your business, how you got started, what your business looks like today, what you see in the future going forward. So, really, without a whole lot of delay, let's get right into it. Tell us how you got started in real estate.
So I got into real estate. I lived in California for 20 years. I left Colorado in 1988, moved to California, and after my husband retired, we decided to move up to the Roseville area, where both my mother-in-law and father-in-law are both agents. My brother-in-law is also an agent. My other brother-in-law is a mortgage lender, and I was in retail. And I did not want to get into real estate because I watched how hard they work, how they could never turn it off. But I was convinced to do so. So I started as their transaction coordinator and did all the paperwork. Learned the contract very well, learned to different marketing practices, and that was back in the day prior to the internet, where you actually did a ton of print ads and did flyers and walked neighborhoods, and so I met a lot of people that way.
I'll bet that's true.
We saw the California market start to settle. I already owned a home out in Colorado, and in 2006 decided to move back and do real estate here back in Colorado. However, at the time that I came back, most of my contacts, because I left in '88, I didn't know anybody. So I had to start over again.
It's like starting over again.
Yep. And it was awesome. It was during the time when the market was starting to downturn here in Colorado. I became very proficient in doing short sales and foreclosures, and kind of made my mark networking and working a lot of referrals for agents that did not know how to do short sales themselves.
Very smart. Wow, that's real. So bear with me because that's not something that we've really ever discussed on the show that I can think of. And Jen, if I'm wrong, correct me. But marketing a very finite and specific skill set to your brethren who may not be as well schooled in how to handle those kinds of transactions is definitely something unique. That's very sharp.
Yeah, so during that time, I also started farming the subdivision that I lived in. That was right at the time that domain names were starting to come about. So I purchased a whole bunch. I bought a whole bunch of domain names for subdivisions in Castle Rock. And luckily my husband had the forethought to really start doing some major marketing to get myself out there. So after so many years, I knew every floor plan, every model for my subdivision. I had been in probably any house that came up for sale. I knew it. Appraisers would call me for information about specific properties as to what it had or did not have. After about 5 years, I controlled about 30% of the market share for my subdivision.
Wow, that's a big number.
But it's, this business, at the end of the day, it's all about the relationships that you have with both your clients and other agents. it is a very small world. A lot of people are connected. You never know who somebody knows. You never know, what the situation is with their home, their sale. So I've built my business. I'm going on 20 years in the business now with all repeat and referral. I love the people that I work with. I consider them to be friends, and I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of friends.
Very true. But let's talk about that for a minute, because obviously the end goal, I think, for certainly for my mortgage practice, for your real estate practice, for most of the people in our audience, because they're going to fit into those boxes, and that's certainly true of real estate agents and financial planners and anybody that the Just the Tips coaching content would apply to. The goal is to have a strict repeat and referral business. Advertising is atrocious. Buying leads is terrible. And let's not even get into all of the horrible things that go on out there. Not that they're not necessary, particularly for agents or originators that are new to the business, whatever the case may be. But we've still got to focus on staying top of mind. When it comes to a repeat and referral business, you've got to make sure that those past clients, that those friends that you have so many of, are still making sure to recall that if I am going to stumble upon a conversation about real estate, that Tracy's my gal. She's the one whose number I'm going to give out. She's the person I'm going to recommend and refer. What kind of activities do you do in order to make sure that you are constantly fresh, constantly top of mind with all of those friends, those past clients, those referral sources?
So I do set myself up so that anytime I sell a property, I keep track of everything. I keep track of their kids, pets, where they went to college, what sports they're into, and just kind of, and then also their floor plan of their house. So one of the things that I am known for is to, if I see the same model of a home that I've sold to a particular client, and I see it come up for sale, whether it's in Highlands Ranch or Parker or Castle Rock, I'll say, hey, look at what they did to this house. You guys should, and it's just wacky things, not really having to do with real estate all the time, but stuff that is more personal to them specifically.
So I think a big piece of what I'm hearing here, for those of you watching, what Tracy is actually doing is making sure that all of her friends and clients are in the top of her mind. And that gives her the opportunity to basically say, oh yeah, Bob and Jane own this exact same floor plan. Look how cool this is, where these people took out the windows and put in doors and made a deck outside. I'm going to snap some pictures of that and send it to them. So it seems to me that Tracy's really focusing on her circle in order to make sure that she's doing things that make sure her circle is focusing on her. So if you guys are catching that two-way street right there, that's really cool stuff, Tracy. Yeah, I'm going to send you my floor plans so that when you see other homes like it, you can give us decorating ideas. That's really brilliant stuff. So
I'm also a car person. So if I see their car, or I think I see their car, I'll send a text message and say, did I just drive past you?
Oh, no, that's really cool. And I would be willing to bet that a lot of people in all of the industries that our company focuses on, but particularly real estate and mortgages, is just flooded with car people.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but there's no question that there are a lot of car people in our respective industries. That's really funny stuff. So you're in South Metro, Castle Rock, I think you said. We do get a lot of viewership that's not local to Denver. So for those of you watching those places that Tracy mentioned, Castle Rock, Castle Pines, Parker, Highlands Ranch, where I happen to live, actually are all South Metro Denver suburbs. Not that they were at the time that Tracy got back into real estate in Colorado. There was a pretty good separation between Denver and Castle Rock, but now it is essentially a suburb as the metropolitan area continues to grow. But for those of you watching, that's certainly the case, that this is all part of the Denver metro area. And Tracy, you're actually from Denver.
I am. I was born and raised in Denver. I'm the oldest of 5 girls. Pretty big age gap. My youngest sister is 14 years younger than I am. We all went to Cherry Creek High School. And sadly, this summer we just sold my childhood home. My parents had owned it for 52 years.
Wow.
Which is rare.
That is rare, no question. As is being a native, and truth be told, my boys are 5th generation natives.
Wow, that's awesome.
And we probably ran in some similar circles as kids, or maybe some of your siblings. But had I not gone to Kent, I would have attended Cherry Creek. So, and my sister did. She did attend Cherry Creek. So, yeah, that's a really small world type of stuff. Yeah, and obviously being from Denver is really rare these days. For those of you that aren't familiar, there's some insane number, like 95% of people are transplants or something to that effect. But that must bode very well for your South Metro Denver business. You're very familiar with the area. You've seen the majority of it grow. I mean, when you were at Creek, Arapahoe Road was the edge of town. There was no Highlands Ranch, Castle Pines. I mean, Parker was this tiny little town that probably spread a few blocks off of Main Street.
Well, County Line was the county line.
Right.
You didn't go past. That
was Mr. Highlands Ranch. If you crossed that line, you were up on his property. So, and we're familiar. He chased us off a time or two. All right, so tell us about your business. What does it look like? Do you have help? Do you have a TC? Are there other agents? Tell us about Tracy's business today.
So having been on a team for many years when I was selling real estate in California, when I came back to Colorado, I opted to go solo. Because I was a transaction coordinator, I became very organized. I have systems in place that I took from when I started in the business that are still in place today. So everything's very automated. I help mentor new agents, but I do not have a team. Some people love the team concept. I've been there, done that. I would much rather provide my knowledge to new agents that might need it and help them grow their business, because I think there's always enough room in this industry for good agents. It is a very tough business, and I think a lot of agents do not take advantage of some senior agents' experience, because what worked 20, 30 years ago probably still works today in a lot of different avenues.
Agreed.
Because it is still a relationship business, and you can spend a lot on products and marketing, and if you want to get rich, sell products to agents, because
they'll buy them.
Oh yeah.
They will. Yeah. The amount of noise that's flooding the real estate agents is under all the shiny objects, and it's insane. But I do want to go back and emphasize one thing that you said, because I think it's a very important point, and to you it's just second nature, but not necessarily for our audience. Tracy has an abundance mindset. She said it herself, there's more than enough business to go around if you're good at what you do. So she doesn't mind helping, sharing, teaching, educating, informing new agents, because she doesn't maintain a scarcity mindset that would make people behave in an exact 180-degree opposite manner, where she's not going to help people understand what it is, what it takes to be a successful real estate agent. And I think that that's one of the most important things that makes people in real estate, in mortgages, and certainly anything else that we touch it here, just the tips. An abundance mindset will always make you more successful than a scarcity mindset. The ability to feel that you can share without being competed with. The ability to write and get published without feeling like people are going to steal your ideas and use them for their own benefit, which is what they should be doing, is going to make you so much more successful than that scarcity mindset. So I really hope you guys hear what Tracy is saying there. And Tracy, I think that you're absolutely right. I think that most of us know historically, even after decades of doing this, that the relationship business aspect of it, that the activities and exercises that we're going to do have probably been the same with small tweaks over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever the case may be. And that most of the people in our industries really do know what they need to be doing.
Oh, yeah.
They're just not doing it. No question. So, Tracy, the one thing that I've got to ask, though, after this last segment is you've got to be really busy for not having a bunch of support staff, a lot of team. If you're doing this all on your own, you've got to be really well systemized and automated in a lot of your activities to be able to, well, to not have pulled all your hair out and do the volume of business that you're doing.
I am very organized.
You'd have to be. Well, tell us about that, because I guarantee there are a lot of people watching that could benefit from that.
Yeah, it is. You have to be diligent with your time blocking and prioritize your day. And there's always going to be things that come up, always. And especially working with buyers, working with sellers, you have to have time built in automatically for that. But I like to utilize the sources that I have, and I like to delegate. So if I am working with other people, I do try to put, some responsibility on sellers to do things, buyers to do things for me, lenders to do things, title companies, and people will want to help, because at the end of the day, everybody has the same goal.
Same goal.
Yeah, we all want to get closed on a property, and so if you just always have that mindset, it will happen.
This is fantastic. And in our mortgage practice, yes, it's one of the things we probably state at least once a week to one party or another involved in the transaction, whether it's the buyer, borrower, listing agent, their insurance agent, whatever the case may be. We all have the same goal. No question. But that was really profound, that time blocking is huge, and we believe that too. And that delegation is huge. And I think that that's a major principle of any successful business, as long as the people that you're delegating to are worthy. But with your career path, you've obviously built a robust arsenal of people that are helping you get to the closing, which is the goal.
Well, technology has made it a lot easier. Back when I started, when it was, you had, the 3-layer contract that you had to hand write out, and then you'd have to fax it over. Oh, you want to talk about having to drive out to somebody's house at 8 o'clock at night to go get their signature.
Make sure they press hard.
Yeah. So nowadays, there's really no reason why somebody cannot respond. A quick text message, email, anything. So it has become easier to delegate that stuff out just because of the way, our contracts are and everything else.
Do you think those of us involved in the real estate industry in Colorado have any idea how lucky we are to have CTME?
It's fantastic.
It's fantastic. Yeah, if you guys are here locally and you haven't seen what some other real estate agents, mortgage lenders, title people have to deal with outside of Colorado, where they don't have access to a service like that, consider yourselves very lucky. That technology is a blessing to all of us involved.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so Tracy, what do you see going forward? In recent weeks and months, we've certainly talked a lot about iBuyers and what kind of pitfalls that will provide. We've certainly talked about what kinds of additional technologies are coming down the pipe for real estate agents to not necessarily increase their business, but to make them more productive in the same time frame so that they can spend more time increasing their business, staying top of mind at a greater rate, doing better lead generation work. What do you see in the next 2, 3, 5 years?
Well, I know a lot of people are very nervous about the iBuyer. However, I kind of look at them a little differently. I would take advantage of an iBuyer situation when you interview with sellers to give them that option if they don't want to deal with showings, or if they have a relationship with somebody who might be an iBuyer, so that you stay ahead of it versus chasing behind it and losing listings. So educating sellers about what that is, because a lot of homeowners do not know anything about that. And they're just given the information, or a letter shows up at their house and they're like, oh, sounds great, you know. They don't have an agent to educate them as to what the process is. I know everybody talks about a recession and things going down. I don't foresee that Colorado's market's going to go through a recession. If anything, we'll flatline, which we need to. It is unhealthy to sustain price increases like we've seen over the past 7 years. Affordability and wages,
They don't match. Agreed.
they do not match, and it's very challenging if you're a first-time home buyer, or if you're just being relocated to Colorado from another state. It's a real wake-up call that $350,000 doesn't buy you anything other than a condo, which is insane.
It is.
But Colorado's a great place to live, and we're very lucky to be in a place that has, you know, for me, some of the best views, the best amenities, the best people, and you have to pay for it.
Yeah, that's very true. And I agree with you on a couple of points. One, certainly that we're not going to have a real estate recession, and certainly not in the Denver metro area, although I think that that's true of every major metropolitan area. Obviously, you know, rural America is struggling that way. They may very well, but the urban corridors really won't, because it's a legitimate supply and demand issue. We have a housing shortage, there's no question, as most major cities do. And we're not actually in a housing bubble, that there is a legitimate supply and demand issue going on. And I would agree, a very bad year in the Denver metro area for real estate would be leveling off, and that, yes, sustaining 15% or more per year increases in value is probably not healthy. And of course, it has forced us to basically price the first-time homebuyer nearly out of the market. I mean, there are very far and few properties, certainly not single-family homes, that would be available in that arena. And it's funny that you say that. A couple of years ago, I was teaching a class with a colleague in New Orleans, and we teach this referral partner relationship idea with a landscape artist, or even just the guy that mows the grass in the neighborhoods. And at the time, my colleague was speaking, and his market is Huntsville, Alabama. And he said, this is a great technique, but bear in mind, it only applies to the really nice houses, 200,000 and up. And I laughed. I laughed uncontrollably. And he said, what are you laughing about? And I said, you don't have that problem at $200,000 in Denver. You're not getting any grass to begin with. So, yeah, not an issue there. But those are a couple of significant issues that the homeowning and home buying audience in the Denver metro area, the 7 counties that make up the Denver area, do need to be aware of. And while we do get some consumer viewership, I do think that that's important for everybody to make sure that the consumer in your market, whatever it may be, and certainly here is, you know, aware of the pitfalls of what is going to happen in the coming years with the real estate market. So that's very valuable information. And when it comes to the iBuyer, just because I'm curious, you've obviously done such a good job of staying top of mind, exercising communication within your circle. It's the only way you're going to maintain a repeat and referral business for those of you watching. So whatever techniques and tactics you're exercising, remember, if you're not in touch with your past clients, there's somebody else's prospects. Okay, so obviously Tracy's not failing at that, but Tracy, as people go through the mental trigger process of selling a home, how do you get in front of them about the iBuyer? I mean, how do you make sure that you're heading that off at the pass?
Well, I do, on the anniversary of every sale that I've ever done, I always send a market analysis every year.
Smart.
Just to give them an update on their property value, because I think there's so many automated ones that come out online nowadays, and people are so interested in how much their house is increasing.
What their house is worth. It's one of the number one things a homeowner wants to know.
Yeah. So I do open up the door for conversations of, like, if you're thinking about selling, let's sit down and chat and talk about all of your options, and letting them know if they go down the iBuyer path, what that looks like financially for them, what that could cost them. The convenience factor is going to cost them money.
A lot. I let Zillow make an offer on a property, a relatively new property to me, just out of curiosity, and it was a lot of money.
Oh yeah, yeah. They aren't cheap. You are paying for the convenience of not having to put your house out there in the general market. However, I think if you can put together a game plan for most sellers and give them realistic expectations of what it is to sell your house, because truly selling your house is like living unnaturally. You have to
So true.
and make your bed every day,
Yes.
and you have to do your dishes, and that's not reality. Most people don't live like that.
And that's before we get into the things with kids and pets and on and on. Absolutely.
Yeah. But is that worth $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 to you? Oh heck, it'd be worth it to me. So again, educating the public about what that looks like is key, because I really, really think people get so caught up in numbers they don't look at the bigger picture and take the time to really digest all of it.
That's probably true. And I can't stop thinking about what a wonderful tool it is to do an anniversary annual CMA. That's just brilliant stuff. There are a lot of automated services out there. We use Humbot in our office. Obviously, we know a lot of agents that do. But yeah, the ability to send out that data rather than, it's a fairly general email, regardless of what service is providing it, that's really sharp stuff. I can't seem to let go of that one. For those of you watching, that's really sharp stuff. All right, well, and as usual, I am stunned at how quickly these episodes whip by. And I know I did mention that we get some good consumer viewership. And I've got to admit, there aren't a whole lot of our guests that I would absolutely pick up the phone and say, hey, you want to work with this agent. We had a conversation for 30 minutes and she's bomb.com. So give us, and Jen, you'll post it here, I assume, how potential buyers and sellers can reach you. What's the best way? Phone, email, carrier pigeon, social media?
Yes, phone, text messages, website, email, you name it.
All right, well, give us that information.
TracyHulsey.com, 720-224-8043. You can call or text me there, or TracyHulsey@remax.net.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Tracy, thank you for joining us. This has been a fun conversation. For those of you watching, there's some really sharp stuff that was said here. Tracy said some really smart things. And she's obviously very, very willing to help people in her industry better themselves, better their business. If that happens to be you, I certainly wouldn't hesitate to reach out to her. She's going to be a great resource. You guys need to understand there's something of a vetting process to be a guest on our show, and Tracy, went through that with flying colors. We knew a lot about her long before we started broadcasting here this morning. So Tracy, thank you. That was absolutely fantastic.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it very much.
Jen, is there anything we're missing? Anything you want to add? Happy birthday again.
Thank you. No, Tracy, this has been great. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, and for those of you that are watching live or in syndication, thank you for tuning in. Again, How I Met Your Mortgage, 10:30 Mountain Time on Mondays. If you'd like more information about the show, if you'd like to get information about our weekly quick tip, if you'd like a copy of my book, Just the Tips, by all means, feel free to use that text code scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Text TIPS to 63566. Tracy, don't go anywhere. I'm going to run our extra, and we'll be right back. Again, thank you for joining us. And to all of you watching, thank you for joining us as well. You guys have a great week.